Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another another episode of Sit Downs with Charlie Brown. I'm your host, DJ Charlie Brown, as usual, and finally figured out the video issues, so we actually have video this time, so you can actually see us instead of image, which has been fixed, hopefully. But anyway, I have, as with usual, my brother Joe.
Hi.
Thanks, Joe. So knowing that he's on right now. Now it means one thing. It is the NHL season is upon us because it is currently September 22nd. I know preseason starts in 2 weeks or this week, almost anyway. I don't know at this point. So yeah. Only there wasn't anything huge this off season. Like in terms of NHL news wise. Other than that, yeah. I do know there are new games and have they always done pre games in Australia or? I don't know.
Not in Australia, but other countries.
Yeah, no, because I know we got Minnesota is going to Sweden this year, I believe. So that's going to be interesting. So yeah. Anyway, I figured might as well get started here. So first team I got up, Anaheim. They kind of good news is they kind of really fixed. They're hoping the coaching is finally solved. That's pretty much all you can say with them. They did get Troy Terry, which back on a 7x7, which I think. That was necessary to do. They got Alex Killorn, Robert Hagg, Alex Stalock for the defense. John Gibson did want out, but he's retracted that now essentially. So, yeah, I mean, all you can hope for is just that you can break out with the core they have this year. So,
yeah, I mean, it's going to be a rough season for them, but it's not like that's expected.
Mm-hmm, yeah. All right, Arizona. As usual, this team's still directionless. You know, they bought out Cassian and Nemeth. They did trade for Sean Druzy and signed Ingram. And then pretty much they just signed in a bunch of old Wild players. They got Nick Bukestad, Matt Dumba, Jason Zucker, Troy Stetcher, Travis Dermott. I would also mention Alex Galchenyuk, but now I question it with, he had to go into the rehabilitation thing, and he had that whole thing this offseason where he is I forget, did he it was a aggravated assault or something. It was a few months ago.
Threatened a cop.
Yeah, you threatened a cop. God, all you can really hope for is that this team does not ruin Logan Cooley, who did sign his EL entry level contract, and it's oh God, please do not ruin him. Don't ruin him, Arizona, please don't. So yeah, that's all I have for Arizona. Your thoughts, Joe? Or You got nothing, right?
They're going to suck.
Yeah. All right, Boston. So this, I said it last year. They were going to be on the downcline. This might actually be the case because Marchand is back as the new captain. Both Krejci and Bergeron have called it careers. They couldn't afford Nick Foligno and Taylor Hall, so they're gone. It just seems like the whole roster is just once again doing the same thing. They brought in Geeky, Boakfist, Milan Lucic is back, JVR, Kevin Shattenkirk. It's God, the boys club is just turning this team into a whole blob mishmash of different ideas. So,
yeah, I don't envision Boston. Maybe they could squeak into a playoff spot, but I don't see where they can compete because Bergeron and Krejci as your 1-2 and center, losing both of them is big.
Yeah.
And they couldn't replace them with the salary cap on them. So, essentially you're going into this season with Charlie Coyle as your number one center.
Yeah.
That is a huge drop-off from those two.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest concern I would have with Boston.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see them as a playoff team this year, so.
I think they could. It's Boston. They could easily make the playoffs.
That is true.
How far they go, that's not going to be far.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, Buffalo. They didn't do a whole lot. They mostly did some smaller stuff. They got Greg Gridgerson and Lucas extended. They just brought in guys like Jost, Johansson, and Connor Clifton to help with depth. I think this year it's just more or less relying on the young prospect pool they got got. So, and I definitely think, like, with how things have kind of looked in their division this year, they could slip into a playoff spot. It would not shock me. So
yeah, I mean, they had a very positive end to the season last year. Didn't end with the playoffs, but if there was one non-playoff team that probably went away with that season, like, that was a really good season, it was probably Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you kind of just got to hope that they continue to build on that and push for a playoff spot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Calgary. So the rebuild is officially underway for them. You know, they shipped off Tyler Toffoli. They brought in Ryan Waska and Craig Connery as GM and head coach. You know, they got Igor Sharankovich. And besides that, it just really feels like they're kind of going to be... They have probably one of the worst outlooks, I'd say, out of all the teams in Canada this year. Just because, like, it doesn't feel like there's anything else there. So
the Battle of Alberta really destroyed them.
Yeah, I think so. And I think now it's just like they're kind of just looking to try and reset things, which is going to be a bit. So, yeah. Carolina. The team's close, and, you know, this offseason they did the moves of necessity. You know, they extended Eric Holla. They got back Jordan Stahl. Sebastian Aho they extended. They didn't get Ghost... They had to pass on Ghost Despair and a few other names. They did get Anderson and Ronta back. You know, I'd say the only issue I have is Orlov's contract. He isn't really... Well, only 2 years, he's not worth 7.75 mil. That's just me, but...
But Carolina's at a point where they're going all in. Carolina can win the cup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just realistically, they need everything to go their way, you know.
No, and I think they still have a roster where they can win a cup.
Yeah.
It's just that conference final of like 0-12 in their last appearances, like, that's the hurdle for them.
Yeah, that is the hurdle, the conference final.
I have full confidence Carolina can make a playoff run and all that. It's just they got to get past that Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Now, Chicago. The real prize for them this offseason was getting Connor Bedard. That's about it. You know, like, they did get Taylor Hall, Josh Bailey, Nick Foligno, Corey Perry, and Ryan Donato. But I think, like, you know, realistically, like, I don't see them as a playoff team this year. Like, I think they'll be okay, but I mean, like, there's still questions on the defense. They don't really have the answers in goaltending. You know, I think it's just going to be another one of those years where it's going to be like, they're hoping to try and develop Connor Bedard into what people anticipate him to be.
I mean, that's their hope.
Yeah.
Is just develop Bedard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. Colorado. Most of the core is still intact, and they didn't do too much this off-season. They did get Byram back, but they also did and got like some guys like Ryan Johansson, Yanni Fairbrother, and Jack Johnson. But I feel like you know, that's about it. Like, once again, the big issue is Gabe Landeskog. He's out again for the entire year. So that is a huge blow to them, and it's not even we haven't played games yet, and already they're down their captain. So I do still see them as one of the top dogs, but I mean, I think I seriously question whether like, what's the deal with Landeskog? Like, this is what, like, the second year in a row where he's dealt with a season-long injury. It's like, is there even going to be a point where he even plays again at this point? You know?
That's a very good question. I mean, but even then, they still have Makar, they still have McKinnon, they still have Rantanen.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Landeskog's probably a blow, but they're still really good.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of depth. I'd say, for them.
Yeah, and that they can stay healthy, because that's been another thing that's derailed them, is just injuries. So, yeah. Columbus. Here's the thing. I wish I could be talking about the off-season additions they've had. You know, they got it Provorov, you know, looking to bounce back. They got Damon Severson on an 8-year deal. They got Olivier extended, but the issue was their coaching, the coaching and front office decisions. You guys seriously hired Mac Mike Babcock, really? The dude's a dinosaur. And even worse is he didn't even last the full season, because for those who weren't aware, an article broke where apparently he made players put their photos on airplay mode and shared personal photos. Complete lack of trust and massive disrespect to the team. As a result, Mike Babcock resigned. And as of now, Pascal Vincent is being thrown to the fire to try and get this team ready. But what are you going to do? Like, I don't know. No, all you're really hoping for at this point is that Ken Johnson takes the next step and waiting for Ryan Fantilli. That's it. So.
Well, Fantilli's playing this year.
Oh, right, yeah, I forgot he's playing this year. He opted out of his final year at Michigan. So, yeah. But, I mean, what are your thoughts, Joe? Like, I don't know what to make with Columbus going into this year.
I don't know. It's pretty shocking how it's already
getting
news attention.
Mike, like, here's the thing. I wasn't sold on Mike Babcock just because of, like, his past reputation, but he didn't even last the full... He didn't even coach a game yet, and he got himself fired. So, yeah, I don't really know. No, so that's my thing with it. Like, could they be something? Maybe, but I think, like, realistically, you gotta hope that Pascal Vincent can get this team, comes out of nowhere to help this team. So, yeah. Dallas. Last year, they kind of got punched in the gut, which is the Peter DeBoer special, but I am skeptical about the Stars. You know, they did get Donoff back. They also did get Duchesne, Sam Steele, and Gavin Bayreuther. But there are two things with me. The one is, it's Peter DeBoer. You know, first year, he'll take you on a deep playoff run, and then over time, it slowly just kind of goes where they go backwards. And also, apparently there was, I don't know if this is true, but there's rumors about Ryan Suter being unhappy, which, I mean, wouldn't shock me, but still, you know, I don't know. No.
I think the Stars fans also want Ryan Suter gone.
Yeah, I feel like, because, like, apparently, do you believe he was a locker room cancer in Minnesota?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's, because I've met some people who have thought differently. I'm just like, dude, no. But yeah. All right, Detroit. The Yzer plan is hit or miss still. They did make a lot of moves this offseason. You know, they got JT Compner and Daniel Strong. They got Alex DeBrincat out of Ottawa. You know, they got Justin Hall, Brian Rogan Rafferty, Jeff Petrie, and the remains of Shane Gostisbehere. They also added to the new goaltending tandem, Alex Lyon and James Reimer. Okay. But, yeah, I mean, Detroit's interesting going into this year. Like, I know that here's the thing. I know I mentioned it last episode. So that, like, I don't think the fans are going to turn on Yzerman yet. But I feel like within the next 2 years, if they're still at the same point, then yes, they will probably start to turn on him. So
I would say this year.
Really? You would think that?
I mean, think about everything that they've gotten. Like, the players, the prospects, all that. You have to think, okay, like, we've been saying for years now, like, yeah, he's gonna, like, change this team.
Mm-hmm.
What has happened? Like, literally, like, nothing has progressed. Like,
yeah.
I think if I was a fan, like, I would want to maybe start putting the pressure on, like, hey, we need some results here soon, because, you know, it's all really good of getting good players and good prospects, I mean, but, you know, at some point, you gotta make the playoffs and do that, otherwise it's not working.
Yeah, so I feel like Yzerman's going to be kind of under the microscope this year. There is that definite possibility, but really hope it's not, because I feel like he's beloved in Detroit. So, yeah. Edmonton. I don't know. You follow the Oilers more than I do. Like, I didn't find a whole lot that they did this off season. You know, like that, and that's the issue. Like, it's the one thing that's hurt this team. It's depth, lack of depth, issues on defense, and goaltending. And it's like, you know, when are they going to fix that? Because so far, every experiment they've tried, and it has all but backfired.
Well, not like a bad team. Like, they have all the stuff. It's just Jack Campbell needs to perform. Connor McDavid will score, however.
Yeah, no, McDavid's...
And Draisaitl's the same.
Yeah, those two are going to...
Like, that's your offense. Like, defensively, they have pieces. I think they'll be good. They'll be decent.
Yeah, I think it's just postseason time. It's when we're going to have to start wondering a lot. So, yeah. Yeah. Florida. So, after coming up short in the Cup finals, it really kind of stung, but I mean, it even stung even worse in the offseason because Tkachuk fractured his sternum in Game 3. Ekblad went under the knife for shoulder surgeries. While both of them are scheduled to be back like before the season starts, like it's still going to take some time for them to fully recover from those. They did, however, get. It's not like they didn't sit on their butts this offseason. You know, they did get some guys like Dmitry Kulikov, Evan Rodriguez, and the once scorned OEL just to be like veteran presence and to add to the depth. Even better that Spencer Knight is out of sort of like his issue, out of the rehab issues he had that offseason, had like halfway through the season, and will probably be back, especially, and probably will be helpful to Sergei Bobrovsky, who's probably I'd say would be in the conversation for Vezina this year, you know, after last season. So,
you see, here's the problem of where you might, not to say that you're wrong, but I think you're falling into the trap that I think a lot of people might fall into. Thinking that Florida's really good because they went on that cup run. Yeah,
that is true.
They played their best hockey in that playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, outside of the cup final and then the regular season, they weren't that good.
Yeah.
So I think people might overvalue.
Yeah, but one thing I will say, though, however, is Matthew Tkachuk, he's probably up there. He's one of the best forwards in hockey. Yeah. I'll say that.
Well, I'm not trying to say, like, oh, yeah, Bobrovsky's not a Vezina candidate. Tkachuk's not a MVP candidate. I'm not saying that. Like, those are all totally true and could possibly happen. I'm just saying they might get a little overvalued.
Yeah, that definitely could be a possibility. So, yeah. The Florida Panther. So, yeah. Oh, sorry. The Kings. They did mostly just retooling this offseason to try and get over the hump. Because you and I both know they're close. They brought in Pierre-Luc Dubois, but did lose Iafallo, Velarde, and Kapari. They got Kopitar extended to strengthen their center position. But other than that, the big issue I have with them was how they addressed goaltending. You know, they could have probably pulled some strings to get Connor Hellebuck, but instead they settled on Cam Talbot and David Riddick tandem for cheaper. I just feel like if they were serious about going to the Cup, why didn't you go get Hellebuck? I imagine like Winnipeg could probably lower the buy rate. So yeah,
well, I think Hellebuck is going to be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't remember what his contract is, but I'm talking about like a trade.
Oh yeah, that is true because I guarantee they'll probably want prospects.
They've already given up like quite a bit to get Fiala and then Pierre-Luc Dubois. So like, how much more do you want to give up?
That is
just
true.
To win a playoff round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I still think the Kings will probably be one of the upper echelon teams this year. I think realistically they just got to get back to performing. So yeah. All right, now it's time for the good old faithful boys, the Minnesota Wild. They obviously cap restraints have been in full effect this offseason, which I haven't blamed Guerin whatsoever. They were able to avoid RFA. They were able to avoid arbitrations with Duhaime and Addison. They just got them on 1-year deals, which, you know, it is what it is. They brought back Marcus Johansson to be the jolt of it. You know, one of the big moves they did, Gus is here for 3 more years, which I felt they needed to do because, you know, Wallsted's not ready yet, and, you know, Fleury's...
Wallsted, I think, can be ready.
Yeah.
But they don't want to throw him into the fire.
Yeah.
And especially because, as I think you're about to say, like, Fleury's on here for 1 more year.
Yeah.
I think what the plan is that Wallsted will be in Iowa.
Yeah.
And then Fleury will either retire or we're not going to extend him.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be Walston.
Yeah, I think with Fleury this year, I looked this up. I think at minimum they're going to try to get him 8 more like game wins, because then that would put him second all time, passing Patrick Waugh. Because there's no way he's touching Burchard's record, which was like 500. He's like in the 480 range. So, yeah, that's about it. Other than that, like the only guy they brought. There were only 2 guys they brought in. Vinny Lettery, who was a buy low candidate, and then Pat Maroon, which I honestly liked getting Pat Maroon, because, you know, Reeves wanted a lot of money, and I think Maroon, you know, Tampa was looking to get rid of him, and I think he's a nice little guy to just be a physical
Little?
body. What?
Little? He's not little.
He's
6'3".
Yeah, no, I mean little and just like value, all right? Right, not in his size, because I know Maroon's a freaking... I've seen photos of him on Twitter. The dude's huge. So, yeah. What? Oh, yeah, I still call it Twitter, okay? Okay, oh yeah, all right. So, Montreal. Big bright spots is, you know, they got Cole Caulfield extended for 8 years. I figured that was the deal they needed to do, because out of all the picks Marc Bergevin made, that was the one that has so far been the price of admission. You know, they got a couple other pieces. You know, they got Alex Newhook and locked him down for a little bit. Monahan, and they were a part of they also assisted Pittsburgh's desire to get older, and they got Casey DeSmith and Nathan Laguerre. They had Jeff Petrie for like a week or a day, and then flipped him to Detroit for Gustav Lindstrom.
Wait, did you say Casey DeSmith?
Yeah, Casey DeSmith. I think he was a part of that. I think he was the piece that went to Montreal. I saw that in the trade deal.
He might be in Vancouver.
Okay, then I haven't updated this in a bit, so maybe that's the case. So, yeah, but if it is, okay, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like, this year I think it's just more or less picking up more pieces. Like, Montreal is a project that it wasn't going to be like a 1 to 3 year project. This is like looking like a 5 to 6 year project at minimum, just because of how much they got to rework and how much they got to develop.
But I think that will benefit them.
Yeah, it's going to probably benefit them just because, like, you know, they really need to they need to really rebuild a roster for the future, not the now, essentially, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Nashville, obviously, like I said last episode, I didn't see them as a huge team that was going to be buying, and apparently the Barry Trotz administration went bold. You know, they traded off Ryan Johansson to free up cap space, and they brought in guys like Ryan O'Reilly and Gustav Nyquist, which I think are nice pieces. And I mean, like, they still have all those draft capitals from the Tanner Jeannot trade from Tampa. So I think realistically, like, they're not looking for much this year. They're looking for mostly just progress. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's about it I can say about Nashville. So yeah. New Jersey. Obviously, last year they punched a bit over their weight, but they did make some. I do believe they are a team that has the talent. You know, they have Jack Hughes. You know, they extended Jesper Bratt, Timo Meyer, who were 2 guys who were critical last year. Okay, apologies for the cut out there that you heard earlier. Someone may or may not have interrupted, i.e. our sister. Love you, Annie. But yeah. Anyway, so where we were. Yes, the New York Islanders. So last season, they sort of were one and done in the playoffs. Now I'm questioning whether Lou Lamoriello is the right GM for this. Just because I get extending Sorokin, but why are you giving Mayfield and Engvall 7-year contracts? It just feels like, is Lou at the Jim Rutherford stage of his career where he's gone kind of senile and is handing out big extensions?
Well, it's gonna work.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me because this is how it works with the Islanders. They have some voodoo. So yeah. now the Rangers, like, you fired Gerard Gallant and then replaced him with Laviolette. What made you think you needed him? Laviolette's not the answer. Gallant was fine. Why are you doing this? But okay, whatever. They did get they lost Kane and Tarasenko, but they did get some nice depth pieces. Nick Bonino, Blake Wheeler, Pitlick, and Nash. So yeah, you were even mentioning that like you were in agreement that Gallant didn't need to go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Now Ottawa. Well, ownership's finally solved, which is a good thing. Good thing. They did mostly trade off DeBrincat. They mostly just extended RFAs. Like, the only players to note is they brought in Vladimir Tarasenko to see if, like, they can get any more out of him. They brought in Travis Hamonic, and they replaced Cam Talbot with Jonas Korpisalo, which is upgrades, but I think, like, realistically, they're going to try and push, but, I don't know with them. Like, do you need to... I think the $1 million question is, do you need to do a full strip down of this team?
Of Ottawa?
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. If they they still are having issues even with new ownership, do they look at possibly doing a full deep clean of this?
I mean, they've already have.
Yeah.
So they're going to start over again?
I don't know. Maybe it's just me thinking too much about Eugene Melnyk, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know. No. Philly. So you're finally admitting defeat and you're stripping it down. So you got rid of Provorov, you got rid of Hayes, you got some pieces back in Cam York, Noah Cates, and Cam Atkinson. New guys are mostly just Ryan Polig, Mark Stahl, and Rhett Gardner as placeholders. Sadly, Carter Hart's still here because you're not going to get much of anything. God, the Philly Boys Club, ladies and gentlemen. It's a
great team.
Yeah. So now Pittsburgh. They were probably the headliner of this offseason just because they were at a crossroad. Do you either rebuild this entire thing, or do you just say screw it and go all in? They chose to go all in. They traded for Riley Smith. They got Tristan Jarry extended and got him a backup in Alex Nedeljkovic. Brought in guys like Ryan Graves and Lars Eller. But the $1 million piece, Erik Karlsson. To me, I didn't think they really needed him, but apparently they decided to go get him. And because what team doesn't need prospects? Well, they did get Rem Pitlick, Dylan Hamelick, and a third rounder. You don't need... Who needs... Screw it. We need a guy who's on one of the worst contracts in hockey, and is probably going to lose his legs in a few years. So, yeah.
They're going to win a cup.
No, Joe, you're forgetting it. You got to remember, they need to get Marc-Andre Fleury back just so they can go win a cup with him. So they can truly get the band back together for one last ride. So, yeah. All right. That's all I got to say about Pittsburgh. So, yeah. San Jose, they mostly just stuck to... They finally accomplished getting rid of Karlsson, so now the true rebuild can begin. They got the remains of, like, Mikael Granlund, John Ruda, and Mike Hoffman. They got Mackenzie Blackwood. Anthony Duclair's not bad, but I feel like, at this point it's just mostly waiting for the next batch of prospects to come through the system, which is going to be a good bit. And plus, they're going to probably be wanting the first overall pick, which they have they ever had the first overall pick? I'm trying to remember. Like,
no.
Yeah,
I know of.
Yeah, I don't remember because I think like I don't remember what like their highest draft pick was. So
Patrick Marleau.
Oh yeah, Marleau. Wait, was it Marleau?
Second overall.
Oh yeah, it was Marleau. Oh shit. Yeah. All right, Seattle. So here's the thing: after last offseason, they are clearly on the right track. So they didn't have a ton to do on their shopping list this offseason. It was mostly what they did was they got Cale Fleury, Cole Lynn, and Will Borgen to help their blossoming core. Losing Daniel Sprong did hurt a lot, but they did get Kyler Yamamoto as a consideration, as a consolation package to it. Other than that, they got Pierre-Edouard Bellemare and Brian Dumoulin as buy low candidates. They did did extend Joey Daccord to help out Grubauer, and Vince Dunn got his bag. So the team is on the right track. I think just realistically, they just gotta not let the expectations be the death of them, because that happened with Vegas. They made the Cup their first year, and then over time they slowly developed from the lovable underdogs to the cancerous tumor of the league. So yeah. So yeah. St. Louis, like you mentioned last time, they disappointed the hell out of everyone last season because they just fell apart. This offseason, they did some nice dealing. They did get Kevin Hayes, which is not a bad deal for a 6th-round pick, and Philly takes on half his salary. They got Oscar Sundqvist back. They got guys like Josh Jacobs and Wyatt Kalnick to replace most of the depth. Josh
Jacobs?
Did I say it? I might have just mistyped that, so yeah.
Wow, I didn't know they signed a running back.
Yeah, they didn't sign. They signed a running back. Hooray. Right. They also got Malcolm Subban to back up Binnington, because that's the biggest issue with them. Binnington. It's just, he's got a temper. If they can keep a lid on that, he could be one of the best goalies, but that's the big issue. Keeping a lid on his temper. So that's your mission this time, St. Louis. Don't mess it up. So yeah, Tampa Bay. They're mostly still have their Cup core intact. Like they did have to part with some pieces to have cap space stills, and that came in Ross Colton and Pat Maroon. So it sucks, but I still think they're going to be at the top. They still have Connor Sherry and Logan Brown got back in the fold, and plus they still have a lot of pieces from both on the roster now and in their system that they're going to be able to work with. So sadly, they're not going away. So yeah.
Well, yeah, they'll probably make the playoffs, but we'll see how far they can go.
Yeah, because it might. Cup fatigue is real, and
this next team has first round fatigue.
Yeah, Toronto Maple Leafs. Here's the thing. What are you guys doing? Here's the thing. I get why you needed to extend Austin Matthews, because the city would have revolted if you didn't. But it
would have been more fun to see him hit free agency.
Yeah, no, it would have been. I kind of wish it was, to be honest. But seriously, the real question is you needed depth in your choices. Ryan Reeves, William Lagesson, John Klingberg, Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Domi. You needed a legit lineup, and you got the Expendables. God. It still probably is not going to help them get out of the first round, because this is just how it is. So, yeah.
But they got out of the first round. That's what matters.
They got out of the first round. That's all that matters to them at this point in time. So, yeah. Vancouver. Even in the offseason, you guys can't be normal. Not even 2 years in, and they bought out the albatross of all of it, OEL. So, yeah. That's one of many Jim Benning mistakes that was cleaned up. Carson Soucy was not a bad contract and could be useful. They mostly the guys they got were RFAs. Do want to shout out Akito Hiroshi, Mankato State Mavericks. I got to give it love. And
mention more UMD Bulldogs on this show.
Pavel who's your? Is it Pavel? No, it's not Pavel Buchnevich. Who's the guy? Who's the Bulldog I always talk about on the St. Louis Blues?
Scott Perunovich.
That's who it is.
Hobie Baker winner.
Yeah, he was a Hobie Baker winner. So yeah. But yeah, I try to get my Bulldogs because I know you'd appreciate it. So yeah. But other than that, it was mostly just placeholders and Ian Cole, Teddy Bluger, and more. So like I said, this is a team that like Jim Rutherford said, this team needs deep surgery, and it's going to be a bit. So what else can you really hope for out of them at this point in time? So yeah. So now we get to the Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights. God, that still hurts for me to say. So here's the thing with them that they're now realizing. while winning the cup is nice, there's a little thing called the cup tax you gotta pay. So, in that form, it comes in Riley Smith. So you kind of they had to dump him off for nothing. But that doesn't mean all is lost. They did get Ivan Barbashev, who was one of their playoff heroes, back on a 5-year deal. The immortal Phil Kessel back is sticking around to try and get his third cup in like more in like a century. And they also did get Aiden Hill on a surprisingly cheaper deal when I thought he could have gotten a lot more from other teams. So, yeah. So
they'll compete again.
Mm-hmm. They'll compete again, which is hard. So Washington, they didn't do much this offseason. Like, they got Max Pacioretty on a 1-year deal, mostly did a couple low-risk, high-reward moves, and did extend Tom Wilson to troll the Rangers long-term. I think that mostly this year, it's just watching Ovi once again, watching Ovi on possibly one stop, like, I don't know. Ovi's winding down his career. That's what mostly people are seeing the Caps for. Just when Ovi decides he's going to hang up the skates. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ovi's just trying to get the goal record.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing more.
Yeah.
Washington.
Yeah. It's going to be a while to rebuild at this point for them. So, yeah. So, Winnipeg. They're officially starting it over and starting over. They shipped Pierre-Luc Dubois out. They bought out Blake Wheeler. They traded off a lot of guys. The only guy still here is Connor Hellebuck, which I get that he's expensive, but it just seems like that you're not gonna succeed with him this year, which is I don't know. I don't know if it's the recipe for success.
From years in past.
Yeah, that is true. I guess you're right. So yeah. I mean, I don't really know with them. So yeah, that's pretty much all. That's the entire off season. So I know it's gonna probably be hard, Joe, but I figured you think you can give me at least some predictions. Like I just kind of have I figured just like the top 4 in each conference. So starting with the Metro
division.
Each division. Sorry, my bad. So for Metro, I still think it's Carolina's division to lose. I think they could definitely be something. My number 2 team is New Jersey. I think they're probably the second best team built there. I did have Columbus at 3 for a little bit, but I think I'm now changing that. I'm gonna put the Islanders in at 3 and the Rangers in at 4. I'd say that's for me, just because I don't have a lot of faith in the other teams in this conference.
I mean, I would probably go Carolina number 1. Probably the Rangers at 2. And then very close behind is the Devils at 3. 4th? Ooh.
It's hard because Philly and Washington are probably tanking. The Pens have their limitations.
I'd think Pittsburgh.
Okay. Yeah. All right, the Atlantic. As much as we clown on them, I still think Toronto takes that division. I have Tampa at 2. At 3, I have Florida. At 4, I have Buffalo. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Toronto, Tampa Bay, Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the top 3 in the division.
Mm-hmm.
And then, gosh, that 4th team. I feel like it would definitely be Florida, but the thing is that there's a lot of teams in that division that need that 4th spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Central. I feel like this one's probably cut and dry for me. I got Colorado as my number 1 team. Number 2 is Dallas. Number 3, Minnesota. And 4 I have as St. Louis. So that's about it. Because, Nashville, Chicago, Winnipeg, and Arizona, I don't think they have the rosters to compete yet. So.
Okay, I think Dallas 1, Colorado 2, St. Louis 3, Minnesota 4.
Yeah, I could definitely see that because there is the possibility Minnesota takes a step back.
But I would also point out with this division, you could maybe switch a lot of the orders of those four, and I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah. So the Pacific. For me, I still think the reigning defending Cup champions take that one spot. 2, I got Edmonton. 3, Seattle. 4, LA. So.
All right, 1, I got San Jose.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
1, Edmonton. 2, Vegas. 3, LA. 4. We'll go Vancouver.
Really? You think Vancouver's going to slip in?
I mean, they have the potential to. It's just, will they fall?
Yeah. All right. Well, hockey season's only a few days away from